Welcome to my channel Karma Romance Stories. Please like, subscribe for more videos.
For 20 years, I protected some of the most sensitive information our government trusted private contractors to secure. I worked through cyber attacks, insider threats, and national security emergencies without a single serious breach. Then one new executive walked into my office carrying a smile and a termination letter. He told me my experience was outdated because artificial intelligence could do my job faster and cheaper. I packed my desk without arguing. The next morning, federal agents walked into our lobby asking one question: "Where is your cleared security director?" When they heard I had been fired, the entire building fell silent. Within minutes, the facility was locked down and everything changed. For more than 2 decades, I served as director of security for one of the largest defense contractors in the country. Our company supported highly regulated government projects that required strict compliance with security rules, clearance procedures, and federal oversight. Every document, every visitor, every server room, and every employee required careful attention because mistakes could have serious consequences. Most people believe security meant cameras, locked doors, and passwords. The truth was completely different. Security was about protecting people, information, and trust. Every procedure existed because someone somewhere had once learned a painful lesson. My career had never been glamorous. Most days were quiet. Quiet was success. Quiet meant nothing had gone wrong. I trained hundreds of employees over the years. I worked with auditors, inspectors, investigators, and compliance officers. I spent countless nights reviewing reports after everyone else had gone home. I loved the work because I understood its importance. Then everything changed after our company hired a new chief operations executive. His name was Brian. Brian came from the technology industry. During his first meeting, he spoke almost entirely about artificial intelligence, automation, and reducing costs. According to him, experienced professionals were expensive while software was efficient. He believed technology could replace judgment. At first, I welcomed the conversation. Artificial intelligence was already helping many industries. Used correctly, it could improve efficiency. But Brian wanted something very different. He wanted fewer experienced people and more automation. One afternoon, his assistant asked me to attend an executive meeting. When I entered the room, several department heads were already seated. Brian stood beside a large presentation screen. He proudly introduced a young AI consultant who claimed advanced software could replace traditional security leadership. The presentation looked impressive. Charts, graphs, buzzwords, predictions. Every sentence promised faster decisions, lower costs, and fewer employees. Then Brian looked directly at me. "Your methods belong to another generation. Beginning tomorrow, our AI consultant will oversee security operations. You can clear your office before 5. The room became silent. Some executives looked uncomfortable. Others avoided eye contact. I simply thanked everyone for the opportunity to serve and quietly walked away. I packed 20 years of memories into 3 cardboard boxes. My assistant cried. Several employees offered to resign in protest. I told them not to. Never make emotional decisions during someone else's mistake. Before leaving, I documented every ongoing security requirement and handed everything to management. No one asked questions. No one requested a transition meeting. Apparently, software already knew everything. The following morning, I was drinking coffee at home when my phone rang. It was a longtime coworker. His voice was shaking. "Federal agents just arrived. They are asking for you." I drove toward the facility, but stopped outside the security gate. Government vehicles surrounded the entrance. Employees stood outside waiting. Nobody was allowed inside. An investigator entered the lobby and asked the receptionist, "Where is your facility security officer?" She answered quietly, "He was terminated yesterday." The investigator stared for several seconds. "Who approved that decision?" Nobody answered. Within minutes, the building entered emergency shutdown procedures. Access badges stopped working. Network systems were isolated. Meetings were canceled. Deliveries were rejected. Every classified workspace was secured. Executives who had ignored security for months suddenly realized how many responsibilities depended upon trained professionals rather than software. Brian attempted to explain that artificial intelligence now managed security operations. The lead investigator interrupted him. "Technology cannot legally replace required cleared personnel responsible for compliance and accountability." Silence filled the room. Hours later, investigators began reviewing documentation. They quickly discovered several mandatory procedures had already been missed during my absence. Nothing catastrophic had happened, but enough compliance failures existed to require immediate corrective action before operations could continue. Employees spent the day waiting. Customers demanded explanations. Projects stopped. Financial losses grew by the hour. Late that afternoon, my phone rang again. This time it was the company president. "Would you meet with the board?" I agreed. When I entered the conference room, Brian looked completely different from the confident executive who had fired me. The board chairman thanked me for attending. He asked one question: "Did you intentionally leave incomplete records?" I answered immediately: "Absolutely not. Every procedure, every document, and every transition file was completed before I left." The investigators confirmed my statement. Everything required had been provided. Management simply failed to understand what they had received. The chairman turned toward Brian. "Why was someone with 20 years of successful service replaced without consulting compliance leadership?" Brian answered, "Artificial intelligence would reduce expenses." The chairman responded calmly, "Reducing expenses does not eliminate legal responsibility. Experience cannot always be automated." Several directors nodded. One investigator explained that modern technology was valuable but could never replace qualified, accountable personnel in roles requiring specific legal authority, security clearances, and organizational responsibility. Artificial intelligence was a tool, not the responsible official. That distinction changed the entire meeting. The board voted to remove Brian from operational leadership pending a full review. The AI consulting contract was suspended immediately. Then the chairman looked at me. "Would you return temporarily to stabilize operations?" I accepted under one condition. Security decisions would always balance innovation with experienced human oversight. The board unanimously agreed. Returning to the office felt different. Employees welcomed me with applause, not because I had won, but because stability had returned. Over the following months, we introduced artificial intelligence the right way. We used it to organize information, detect unusual patterns, improve reporting, and reduce repetitive administrative work. But experienced professionals remained responsible for reviewing decisions, protecting compliance, and exercising judgment. Technology became a powerful assistant instead of a reckless replacement. The company recovered. Government inspections were completed successfully. Customer confidence returned. Brian eventually admitted one important truth during his final interview: "I believe technology could replace wisdom. Now I understand it should support wisdom instead." That lesson transformed the company culture forever. Today, every new executive hears the same message during orientation: innovation creates opportunity. Experience protects it. The strongest organizations never choose between people and technology. They combine both with humility, responsibility, and common sense. That is the difference between temporary success and lasting trust. Technology continues to change the world every day. Artificial intelligence is a powerful tool when used responsibly, but trust, accountability, experience, and human judgment remain essential in leadership and security. The companies that succeed are not the ones that replace people without understanding their value. They are the ones that combine innovation with wisdom.